Once upon a time, there was an old groundskeeper for the tennis courts named E.C. He helped look after the tennis courts, both clay and hard courts, for the YMCA, and he helped look after the players. Now, this old groundskeeper, while pushing his wheelbarrow, came upon a ghost of an old tennis player. Actually, the ghost of the old wise tennis player that he had known years ago. The groundskeeper had been thinking about the meaning of Christmas. So when he saw his mentor, he asked,
"What is the meaning of Christmas?"
E.C. said that the newspaper that morning had said that there was only 15 more days to Christmas. And there were all those sleek advertisements asking us to buy this or that. What is the meaning of Christmas? The old tennis player replied,
Christmas celebrates the birthday of Jesus Christ.
There is a mass and services in the various churches to celebrate his birthday. The old tennis player went on to say, I remember my parents told a story describing a Christmas Eve night for them in the old country. The country where they came from in Europe. It seems on that Christmas Eve there had been a new snowfall, and yet the night sky was clear. One could really see a beautiful star above. The night was quiet. Now, my parents lived in the countryside among the small hills. They primarily raised their own food and raised a few animals. Oh yes, each parent had certain crafts they could make with their hands. On that night, all the neighbors, as well as my parents, made bonfires. These Christmas fires, as they were called, helped light the way for people to go to Christmas Eve Mass. So my parents started out for Christmas Mass. They walked using a small donkey to bring some supplies and gifts with them. Along the way, they met up with other neighbors and their families all going to the small town to Christmas Mass. All the while, the bright, beautiful stars seemed to lead them on their way. Oh, it was still cold, though magical and mystical in that night as they stepped one step at a time through the snow. My parents said some people started singing, in part to keep warm, and in part because their hearts were bursting with joy. They were thankful to Jesus for what he had done for them and for all people. And they thought there must be a reason why we are all here at this moment. My parents and everyone moved on over hill and dale, often brought through the darkness by the Christmas fires and candles that people had lit for their neighbors, and by the light that was beginning to shine from within these people, an inner light. As my parents came to the little town that night, they noticed that most of the homes had lit a candle in the front yard. On this special night, these candles seemed to further illuminate the way for my parents and their friends to Christmas Eve Mass. Yet there was one home that was dark and cold, almost sad. This was a family that had lost a family member this past year, and also one of their children, a little boy, was very sick. My parents stopped here a moment to visit with this family and to share their supplies of food and wood for fire to help keep the family warm. Other neighbors did the same. My parents had made some special toys and gifts for the young sick child. Then everyone continued on to church. And a funny thing happened. As the pilgrims approached the church, the stars settled overhead, and singing was heard high in the sky. And there was a man there holding a lantern lighting the way for all to the Christmas Mass. And the light coming from his lantern was special. It seemed to have a special meaning for each person in the group. The man himself looked magnificent. He looked as if each one had known him before in their life. Could it be? Could it be Jesus himself holding the lantern for all to see their way? There was one young man in the group that could not see. His friend held his hand and led him. It was still dark for him. The young man wanted to love and to see. Still, the young man was blind. My parents and their neighbors and all the townsfolk entered the church. They all participated in the Christmas Mass, thanking God the Father for sending His Son and thanking Jesus for coming to all people. And thanking Jesus for what He did for us all on the cross and for His lighting the way back home for us all. Our way back home to God the Father. A light bathed all the people in the church that night. This light came from inside each person, shining out as well as from above. The people in the church began to treat each other in a special way. They began to see Jesus inside each person, as well as God the Father inside each person. And they began to treat each person and all of God's creation with this respect. Then a miracle happened. The young man who was blind began to see, and the more he saw Jesus and God the Father in each person he met, his vision grew stronger, and even stronger when he saw that deep down in his own life was Jesus and God the Father all the time inside him, waiting for him to knock on the door, to uncover them, to discover them there. They had been there all along. That night, they found that there was a reason these people were all here together at this particular time and place. There was a reason they were all here together at this moment in time. They looked at the manger scene beside the altar and at the baby Jesus in the crib, and they looked up at the crucifix with Jesus on it hanging above the altar, and they knew the reason they were here at this moment together. That night, the people in the church were transformed, and they carried that light and love onto everyone they met in their lives and to all they did in their lives.
Oh, I see, a light in the darkness.
Jesus helps show us the way back home to God the Father, and for us to follow Jesus, to carry God's love to others, to help others.
What about tennis?
Oh, tennis is the same, said the old tennis player.
Tennis starts with love.
It starts with humility and gratitude, and it is helpful in the game to diminish one's ego and self-will and to serve, to put others first. And when one does, one can find love in the game of tennis and life. One can find Jesus inside and outside, waiting for us on Christmas Day and every day of the year.
On the clay and the hard court, beneath the winter sky, old EC was working, letting the days roll by. He saw the billboards flashing, all the things we're told to crave, and stopped his squeaky wheelbarrow by a long-forgotten grave. Then his mentor appeared, spirit from the net, and EC asked the question he knew he couldn't forget. With 15 days till Christmas and the world rushing fast, tell me what's the meaning, what is meant to truly last. It's the light in the darkness, the star that guides us home, a love that's found in others, not when you walk alone. It's the true serve of the season to diminish ego's plea, the miracle that lets us see the Christ in you and me. It's the inner fire we carry, shared through the winter cold, the story written in our hearts, more precious than pure gold. He told of bonfires burning on a quiet snowy night, to lead the weary pilgrims toward the chapel's light. They walked past homes with candles, a peaceful, humble glow, but stopped for one dark doorway where sadness seemed to grow. They shared their wood and comfort, they left the small gifts made, they offered service in the night where shadows lay afraid. as the stars settle above the church where they would meet, they saw a man with a lantern lighting the snowy street. It's the light in the darkness, the star that guides us home, a love that's found in others, not when you walk alone. It's the true serve of the season to diminish ego's plea, the miracle that lets us see the Christ in you and me. It's the inner fire we carry, shared through the winter cold, the story written in our hearts, more precious than pure gold. Inside the church they looked from the crib to the cross above and saw the reason for the journey, God's eternal love. The light poured out from heaven and shone from deep inside, and the blind man started seeing the truth he couldn't hide. He saw the Christ in others, he saw him in his own light, and his vision grew much stronger, conquering the strife.